All right, what's up, everybody? We're back again today, reading some of your comments. There's a lot of them here. I don't know what that was beeping, but okay. I've gotten a lot of comments about the Sky Blue videos, and I'm going to go ahead and get to those now. I'm going to read down here and go and just start reading comments until I just don't feel like reading them anymore. Um, on the AEW fans are creeps, but you can't have it both ways video. Andrew, is it Tannen? Or Tannen. I'm going to say Tannen. Um, and he writes, oh, Casey Kasem, their reference for those of you who used to actually listen to terrestrial radio back in the day. And Andrew writes, dear Casey, no. um, he writes, I don't agree with any quote all fans of blank act like blank arguments. Look, I'm going based off my experience here. Every time I've been to a few AEW shows now, and me personally, I'm getting. I just AEW fans. I feel sleazy when I sit next to these guys. I really do. And the video I posted of the guy, whether they identify as a woman, a man, a tree, season, whatever you want to identify yourself as, um, you know, they just don't call for that. It's not 1998 anymore. We don't need to be doing that mess. Um, Anyway, Andrew goes on to say, but your main point about how some people think that the kind of behavior is okay is 100% correct. I was shocked that both of those two involvement in the attempted flashing at the start of the show weren't removed or even as much confronted by security. Well, we don't know that they weren't, but the camera seemed to cut away from them pretty quick. All these countless incidents with AEW and now I suppose Ring of Honor especially suck for me as a fan because AEW was actually what got me into wrestling. I want to say it was about 4 months before All Out 21 when Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson first appeared, and then I think it was around the time. And then I think that was around the time that I started watching WWE. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Oh man. Um. Now these dumbass pervy marks are permanently setting the standard for how people perceive fans of AEW. Although for a variety of reasons, I'm nowhere near as big of a fan of AEW as I used to be. And I actually replied to Andrew here. I want to know why you're not a fan of AEW anymore, Andrew. Um, I said from the very beginning when AEW first launched that, well, I have to go back further. I first started noticing the Young Bucks all the way back in 2007 when they first appeared for a Hermie Sadler show in Colonial Heights, Virginia. Hermie Sadler had his own little wrestling promotion and he would had a working relationship with TNA at the time. If you remember back to the Fox Sports days, and even beyond that, Hermie Sadler would do guest commentary and do some backstage stuff um, for TNA. He was a really good friend of Jeff Jarrett's, but he would also run a lot of shows in the Richmond, Virginia area. I was actually a manager on one of those shows. I won an auction to manage Petey Williams. Um, So there is footage of my fat ass out there managing Petey Williams. So people sit there, stupid Mark Joe White, you never been in the business? You're wrong. I never went to wrestling school. You're right about that. And I may have bought my way in for that one night. I was I was a manager at one point. Um, I say that with joking and with jest, obviously. But um, I I I I'm not in the business. I never have claimed to be in the business. I have been a pundit of the business, and I always will be, regardless of how many of you people want to go. Oh, you've never been in a business before. You don't know how to. You don't need to know how a toilet works in order to use one. I can also go out and replace the guts of a toilet when they break, if need be. Um, Not to say that wrestling is not hard, because I'm sure it is, or else everybody would do it. But I digress on that point. But I would love to know why you're not a. That's why you'll hear me all the time. Stupid Mark Joe White. You don't know what you're talking about, Joe White. You stupid Mark. So, um, I would love to know why you're not a fan of AEW. But sorry, I got off on a tangent there. It all goes back to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and how what they've done to this business. I'm sorry, but getting your shirts and Hot Topic, a store which really nobody shops in anymore. How many malls are still standing around in the US with Hot Topics in them? Okay? It all goes back to the simple fact that they have made a mockery out of this business. And it has nothing to do with Jim Cornette, even though I'm a fan of Jim Cornette. I've said this all along since I very first started, and since they first started doing the super kicks and all this. And when AEW first started, I said it's going to be that on a national stage, and it's going to fail. They're going to realize very quickly that the bunch of kids in the treehouse bit does not work on national television. It is a niche audience. Cody Rhodes was the first rat off the ship. Jade Cargill soon followed. And now we're seeing a WCW situation where a bunch of people who WWE has spat out or who have rejected WWE's way of doing things under Vince McMahon are now jumping over to AEW. Why? Because they have a Nepo baby money Mark who does not know his ass from a hole in the ground writing the shit and booking it. And he doesn't know how to be a boss. He only wants to be everybody's friend. Anyway, these two come from Electro Vampire 1572. How many times are you going to say you can't have it both ways? You sound like a broken record. You can't have it both ways. He goes on to say Saraya definitely knows creeps. She seemed to be attracted to them since she dates a lot of them. Touche, man. Touche. Uh, again, this is from the Sky Blue. Is not totally innocent, but AEW fans are still creeps. See your point, given that she's making a lot of money from simps on Patreon, $100,000 a month. But hard disagree about the French fans. They were amazing. Only tried to get themselves a bit, but you can't have a great crowd and then get upset when they're too loud. Yes, you can. I get upset. It's not that they were too loud. It's the constant 1, 2, I get mad at the 1, 2, sweet. I don't like that either. Why? What's wrong with just going 2 like they used to do? Even that, to a certain extent, annoyed me. Sorry, my mouth is falling down the stairs today. The stupid thing to the Seven Nation Army song. Blah, 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 blah. I hate it. I can't stand it. It's annoying. It makes me want to watch the shows on mute. It really does. It really, really does. And it all started, I want to say it was the Raw, either after WrestleMania 29 or after WrestleMania 30, when we had about half of that damn crowd was made up of British fans who, and I've said this before on the channel, they spend their hard earned money to fly across the Atlantic, to come to this country, to, you know, come to WrestleMania and the Raw afterwards, and hijack our shows with beach balls and everything else. I know, Debbie, this wasn't the first time it happened. Beach balls have been popping up in wrestling crowds for years beforehand. But they didn't make it any more worse. They made it prominent. When they come over here and hijack our shows with their stupid soccer chants and their stupid nursery rhymes, when they could just stay over in their own country and WWE just went over there for a European tour. So, you know, they're not exactly the smartest of the bunch when they could save their money, go to their own arenas, chant whatever the hell they want, and see probably the exact same matches, because usually those matches on those European tours used to be just rematches from WrestleMania. Anyway, The point about her making $100,000 a month, yet she has enough nerve to call us creeps. Again, I'm going to be the broken record. You can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and go, don't say I have a hot ass, but by the way, check out my hot ass on the Instagram. You can't do that. I'm sorry. It's just, it's being two faced. From the same AEW or creeps, but you can't have it both ways video, A Town 23X Gaming. Glad she chirped back at him. I never made a point on another video about how ever expect fans to be on their best behavior. This guy was a clown. This business can be ruthless, and she just got to witness. I'm happy to hear more about this, and happy she stood up for herself. She should absolutely ride this and use it for her character, make rounds online showing you chirping back, and showing your mettle, and not putting up with neckbeard virgin comments. What he said is not cool whatsoever, but I hope this makes her more tough, because she handled it greatly. I get the gist of what you're trying to say there. If you're going to make a living out of this and you're going to spin it into a gimmick, more power to you. Why not come out in the ring and do your little dance and shake your ass out there and go, all you neck beard ugly fans, you can go to my Patreon, but you're never ever going to get a chance to daggone see this up close and personal. What's wrong with doing that? Medusa, are you ready? Medusa in WCW. Are you ready for some rough, tough, sexy stuff? As much as I didn't really care for her, Sable. This is for all the women who want to be me and the men who come to see me. What's wrong with being like that? But you can't get mad when you're making over $100,000 a month for somebody to do it behind a keyboard, and then get mad when they actually say it to your face. That's the thing. Stupid Mark, you'll never say it to my face. Well, when they do, you cry and bitch about it. And AEW can't book long-term storylines. Seth Rollins was sacrificed like Tony Stark. Yes, he was. He made the sacrifice. Very good. That is from the greatest babyface. Very good analogy. I like that one. From the AEW fans are creeps, but you can't have it both ways video. Mr. E. Cartman. And he has a picture of Cartman from South Park as his avatar there. She wears outfits that shows off her booty. Yes, she does. And I've said it before. She has a great booty. And at the same time, she's probably one of the most improved wrestlers on either WWE or AEW roster from the last year. I dare say that she has improved more. Her and Julia Hart both have improved more than Jade Cargill has. AEW can't tell long-term stories. Shannon Norman 1101 says the Elite beat up the Boss and Kenny. Kenny announces a match that doesn't include himself. This match could have been made without any of anything happening. I agree. Again, that's why it doesn't make much sense. It doesn't make sense why they're killing this, why they're, just blowing it off so soon. It's stupid. From the AEW is creeps video, we got our AEW fans are creeps, but you can't have it both ways video. Eric McGilvray 537 says, nice title screen. Thank you. Because of one guy, guess all WWE fans are guilty of sex crimes. I see what you're saying. I mean, is this from talking about McMahon? No, not all WWE fans are guilty of this, but the reason why I say all AEW fans are creeps is because I've actually been to the shows and I know what kind of fans they are. I've experienced it. Like I said in one of those videos, I almost got kicked out of AEW Revolution. I had my son with me. My son, I didn't want to go. I didn't pay for a ticket. My son paid for the tickets. I made my son use his allowance and give Tony Khan his money and say, hey, if you want to go, I'll take you because you can't go by yourself. My son's only 14 years old. But he wanted to see Sting's last match. It was a moment that, quite frankly, I was glad to have seen it, but with the glass and everything, I was ashamed to have brought my son there. My son just stood there shaking his head at the product. He hates that type of crap. But, their fans, AEW fans, are either virtue signalers who get mad when you disagree with them, or get mad when you tell them to tone it down and quit being so annoying, to the point where the guy who got into a fight with me literally looked at me and said, "Why doesn't your straight ass do something?" And to the point where I looked at him and said, "Dude, you're not worth a punch, but if you try and hit me, I'm going to deck you." And then he goes, "Well, I'm going to go to the usher and get you kicked out." And then the ushers ended up coming up and moving me closer to the action. So it backfired on him. And everybody around me, once he left to go get the usher to get me kicked out, pretty much said I did the right thing, because they were getting annoyed too. I just was the one that had the balls to say something. So they're either virtue signalers who don't like it when you disagree with them. You're either an ist or phobe if you don't like the product. The wrestling is for everyone but you crowd. That's the thing. Or they're guys who flat out look, make me glad that I shave. I'll just say that. I'm proud to, I hate growing a beard. But because you look at some of these guys who look like they haven't showered in a year, and the women that they have with them are just flat out scuzz buckets, and they act like, to steal a line from The Rock, AEW fans just look like trailer park trash, and that's just, I'm sorry. I don't want to be associated with that, so I'm not going to their shows anymore. Um, I'm Free Views. I am Free View says people are just so messed up just because Moolah and her generation put up with this kind of crap because otherwise they would starve doesn't make it right. And the analogy with racist and other derogatory comments is apropos. See, this is where I disagree with. This is the one that's going to really set me off here, guys. He goes, "Would it be okay if people shouted racist and homophobic slurs at Anthony Bowens?" No, it wouldn't be. But you're comparing apples and oranges. There's a big difference in chanting shit. It's different sections. Okay, it's apples and oranges. You can be nice to women and be a homophobe. Not saying it's right, but there are people out there like that. You could be people who there's a lot of gay men out there who hate women and are very misogynistic and don't like women. There's a lot of lesbian women who hate men. It's to me, it's two separate things. It's being racist and being homophobic. It's two separate things. Now, Anthony Bowens happens to be a gay black man. If you were to call him a F word and an N word all in the same sentence, then you've crossed the line. Then you've merged the two together. But I really think you got the wires crossed up in this situation. Would it be okay if someone pointed a gun at Don Callis because they hated his heel persona? There were a lot of damn guns pulled back in the 80s. There was a lot of people getting stabbed and getting shit thrown at them. Jim Cornette all the time talks about how people used to take spray bottles full of piss and spray it at the wrestlers or throw glass Vaseline bottles at him. Does it make it okay? No. It just means they got heat. Would it be okay if someone took umbrage to Jericho referring to Edmonton as Calgary and went to his house and see there you go? No, that's not okay. But for them to boo him about it, that's heat. He did it on purpose to get heat. There were a lot of people who would wait in the parking lot out back of NWA shows. I'll give you a prime example, okay? I went with a friend of mine to a GXW show, Ground Zero Wrestling, in Richmond one time. And there was a tag team of two big guys, big old fat guys, and they were managed by a guy named Humphrey J. DuPont, the fourth, I think. His name is Humphrey J. DuPont. An older guy wears a fur coat to the ring, and he's like he was the manager of this team. Well, just to be stupid, again, I regret doing it. Me and my friends just started chanting, "You can't wrestle at these guys." And doing the right thing. I will give these two guys credit. They immediately got out of the ring and came up to us, the guardrail, and started calling us out for being fat and saying that we had man titties and all, even though they have bigger man titties than us. But we created a whole ruckus, and the crowd's going shit, ape shit, because we're they're getting heat. And at the end of the show, we're in the parking lot. And across the parking lot, Humphrey J. DuPont walks up and he sees us. And he gets the look on his face like, oh, God, these marks are going to want to fight me. But we were cool. We all shook hands. Ah, hey, hey, hey. It was good. Good heat. Good heat. Yeah, you did your job as fans. It was all good, brother. All good. But the look on his face was like, oh, God, these guys are going to come after me. He literally, he literally had the look on his face like, oh, shit. Because he was alone by himself. But no, I know when the show ends and where real life begins. Okay? Let's just not get our wires crossed. All of this is wrong on all levels, but you're not wrong about you can't have it both ways, that's for sure. Thank you. Zach the Buzzkill. This is a highly unpopular opinion, but you make legit points. Thank you. From the same AEW Can't Tell Long-Term Stories, Nicholas Pitts, 9561, says AEW has some of the worst booking ever. But they're going to let talent tell the story in the ring. I get it. Trying to book backwards, not getting over on the mic is horrible. Top talent can't even do good mic work with AEW. I don't know what's up. I don't know either, man. Again, people just don't only want to see good matches, as Tony Khan would say. How WWE can fix Ricochet. Got a comment on this one here by Doshenko. As an author, I really like the whole ordeal of turning on Samantha Irvin because it adds more layers than just his misuses of talent. Irvin is someone that the fans generally love and would be the perfect source of heat for Ricochet. But I honestly think of him as being in a stable will only hinder him. He's more like a Neville, who has the in-ring competence to get it done against cruiserweights and heavyweights. You could have him introduce the mask again, though Prince Puma is a trademark of LU, so he can't go by that name. Who still holds the trademarks to LU? Lucha Underground. That's what I'm wondering. He can have a mask made in its likeness, have him as a mystery warrior who will attack fan favorites. Then when someone unmasks him and it's revealed to be Ricochet. He can have the nobody cared about me until I put the mask on. But when I put the mask on, I no longer cared about the fans bit. I like it. He could be a feral little Tasmanian devil in the upper mid card with a proper mouthpiece. He could be a world champion. Have him be the one to retire Rey Mysterio due to their history in LU and all that jazz. I like it. I like all those points. I still think he should join Judgment Day. And you know how Rey reacted to Dominic joining Judgment Day? Imagine how Samantha Irvin reacts to him Ricochet joining the Judgment Day. On the I just want to say thank you to the new subscribers video. Red Solo Cup 222879 says cheers, man. On the Tony Khan prank call. That was not my prank call. I got that from somebody else on the internet and just reposted it. I'll be honest, I stole it and I even said that I did. Hey man, that was pretty good. Keep the work. Love to see more of it. So would I. The Tony Khan IEW already fumbles the Tony Khan attack storyline. Stone Tank 7455 says Tony in the neck brace looks like the love child of Vince Russo and Andy Kaufman. If only he would act like it. Toki 5899 says, honestly, this was Jim Cornette. Can't wait to hear if he talks about this. Keep up the good work. Thank you, I will. John Koba Reddy, your voice is similar to Corny's. Thank you. Ryan 4576 just says Tony Cocaine. with a bunch of smiley face emojis. Conflumix 1397 looks like toilet paper around his neck. Yes, it does. Alternative 7586 says title's wrong. Tony Khan screws up attack storyline. Christery 1611 says y'all need to stop giving phony clown any attention at all. King Leonidas 6352 says Tony Khan is Richie Rich who loves wrestling. That's his biggest problem. Yes, it is. And I think we'll stop it there. Gone about 25 minutes here doing nothing but reading your comments. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, subscribing. Again, a huge thank you to all my new subscribers in the last month. I really appreciate every last one of you. My goal is not to, I'm not going to sit there and go join my Patreon, join this, join that. I make good money as a truck driver. And I do enjoy it 90% of the time. Would I love it if YouTube could hand me enough money to come off this road? Yes, but it's not a requirement. I'm not going to sit there and stop making videos because it's not a full-time job. YouTube is never going to be a job for me. Nor do I want it to be. But thank you guys so much for watching, listening. We'll see you down the road.